What? I said, what? What is happening, baby? How's everybody doing today? You already know who it is, nah? It's Dallas Clark, also known as Indo is my Nindo. Follow me on Twitter, all that good stuff. At Indo is my Nindo. And I'm coming to you today with actually a quick episode. If you haven't been paying attention, we've already got some draft strategies out there, some rules that you need to follow in order to properly prepare for your fantasy football draft, as well as my top 24 rankings. And I've got my running back special out already, and I've got my quarterback special on the way, my tight end special on the way, and then we're getting ready to get into those early waiver wire gems, early trade targets, as well as some of that regular season work. We're just about 9-10 days away from kickoff at this point. Buccaneers, Cowboys, Thursday Night Football, Game 1. I cannot wait, and I know you can't either, and that's why you're turning in to the Huddle Chat Sports Show, Fantasy Football Huddle. And today, drumroll please, we're going to be covering up my top wide receivers in your fantasy football draft class, and we're going to be talking about those top tiers of wide receivers, as well as some notable wide receivers outside of the top 10 rounds, or out of the top 10 picks. But besides that, before we get everything started, as you guys know, after the intro stuff, if you do smoke them, no peer pressure at all, no peer pressure. Don't let me pressure you into nothing that you don't do. But if you do smoke them, now is the time to smoke them if you got them, baby. Let's get it all sparked up, and let's get right into the news. All right, now that we're sparked up and ready to go, it's time to kick off on this wide receiver talk. Like I said, today we're going to be talking about the top wide receivers in your fantasy football draft class, who you should be targeting. As we've talked about before, wide receiver has become, over the last decade or so, with how the passing game has gone in the NFL, it's become a very valuable position in fantasy football. And you definitely, if you haven't seen my how to dominate your fantasy football draft episode, we talked about it. You definitely want to come out of your middle of the third round. So you want to at least end the third round with at least one elite wide receiver, one of those number one wide receiver caliber players. Because if you don't, you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt. Now, wide receiver is a deep position, but as far as safety and minimizing risk goes, you definitely would like to have at least one of these wide receivers and partner them up with those top running backs, those top tight ends. Like I said, don't force anything in your draft. Let it come to you. Let the wind take you. But you definitely want to have in the idea that by the end of the third, you want at least one, and by the end of the fifth, you want at least two wide receivers. Now let's get cracking talking on the wide receivers. Like I said, to start it off, we're going to talk about those wide receiver elites, those big name wide receivers. Of course, number one overall, I don't think anybody's going to argue with me upon this one, is going to be Davante Adams from the Green Bay Fudge Packers. You guys know how I feel about Green Bay. There's really nothing much that needs to be said about Davante Adams. He's got one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history in the league. Throwing him the football right now. He's the number one wide receiver for said quarterback. He's been doing it for years. Nothing really can be said to hurt Davante Adams at the current moment, besides the fact that the wide receivers around him are pretty terrible. The Green Bay Packers have a pretty putrid passing target situation, and I want nothing to do with it. Outside of Davante Adams himself, I'm sticking away from Green Bay myself. Now, going number two is going to be the Cheetah from Kansas City. Tyreek Hill, man, that man's speed it speaks volumes on its own. Tyreek Hill, and on top of the fact that he's got the best quarterback in the NFL right now, and potentially one of the best quarterbacks to ever put the cleats on and hold the football in his hand, and Patrick Mahomes throwing him the football. Tyreek Hill is gifted when he gets the ball with what he can do after the catch. So Tyreek Hill, the same thing as Davante Adams, man. There's not much you can say to discount Tyreek Hill. His height has always been a discounting issue for the first portion of his career, but his speed more than makes up for that, and his height has never really been an issue from anything that I've seen in any Kansas City Chiefs game up to this point. Now, number three, this one's going to be the point where you're going to start wanting to argue with me a little bit. Number 3, I've got Stephon Diggs over DeAndre Hopkins, as you can see there on the screen. I've got Stephon over DeAndre just because the Arizona Cardinals, they have a really good situation. If you haven't heard me talk about it before, I think Josh Allen is a bigger arm than Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray and Josh Allen are gifted in their own different ways, but Josh Allen is a higher-rated quarterback than Kyler Murray for a reason in fantasy football. And Josh Allen's big play ability to Stephon Diggs, and that boy Stephon Diggs, if you look up Stephon Diggs and just a couple of plays in Stephon Diggs' career, you see that he is a big play, just walking on the field. So Stephon Diggs himself, combined with that big play quarterback that he's got, it's a combination made in heaven. With DeAndre Hopkins being said, though, I mean, we've seen that Hail Mary, as you see that picture there that I've got up. Kyler Murray is no slouch. He's a great quarterback himself. He's not far under Josh Allen. This one here is a coin toss. It's hard to pick between Stephon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins. It's more of a personal preference at this point. Me personally, though, I think I would go Stephon Diggs over DeAndre Hopkins because I just really like what the Buffalo Bills can do. Now you can't argue on the fact that the Buffalo Bills do play in Buffalo and they have a lot of inclement weather. And the passing game in November, December for Stephon Diggs versus DeAndre Hopkins may look a little bit different. Now, that's a different argument for a different day. But right now, me personally, I got Stephon Diggs over DeAndre Hopkins. Now, going right outside of those elite wide receivers, they're, like I said, they're not going to be slouch wide receivers that we're talking about. We don't want to call them elite wide receiver, but they're not really mid-tier. They are still top wide receivers in the game, to be honest with you, in my personal opinion. But I do think that these wide receivers right here are still top wide receivers. They're still number 1 targets, but I just don't think they're that elite caliber of wide receiver. In that list, topping it off, we got A.J. Brown from Tennessee. I think A.J. Brown, he's becoming a better and better player as he's getting older in his career. And this year may be that year that he takes that step into that elite class. I honestly had a hard time picking and choosing where to put A.J. Brown, but the fact of the matter is I consider A.J. Brown and D.K. Metcalf closer than I consider A.J. Brown and DeAndre Hopkins or A.J. Brown and Stephon Diggs. So I think personally that A.J. Brown belongs right outside on that cusp of elite wide receiver, and this year may be the year that he takes that step up. You look at Julio Jones being added to the team. You look at Derrick Henry still on the team being a run-heavy approach, but that hasn't really hindered A.J. Brown in any sense of the word. A.J. Brown did suffer with some injuries early last season, so that kind of hindered his end-of-the-year standings with everything, but I think A.J. Brown is a absolutely amazing target. If you can get A.J. Brown on your team, you definitely want to roll with it. Now, player picture here, you got DK Metcalf. That's going to be the number 6 wide receiver for me. I think DK Metcalf, that size, that speed, that strength, plus the fact that he's got one of the elite quarterbacks in a fantasy football aspect and in an NFL real-life aspect in Russell Wilson throwing in the ball. Plus, he's got a really good surrounding cast. Tyler Lockett is the only thing that kind of stands in his way from being a little bit better of a target at the current moment. But like the same thing with A.J. Brown, this could be DK Metcalf's season where he takes that big step to elite wide receiver class. I think DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown are in the same category. Like I said, it's the same thing with Stephon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins. It's a coin toss once you get past that first wide receiver or two. Even there at the beginning, Devontae Adams, nobody's going to be mad at you if you take Tyreek instead of Devontae. It just depends on how early you pick your wide receiver, but that's a different story for a different day. Now, number 7. Number 7's a big question for me. Calvin Ridley from Atlanta. He kind of came out and shocked the shit out of a lot of people last year. And Calvin Ridley from Atlanta, he was a great target. The problem with Calvin Ridley is A.J. Brown's new friend Julio Jones was taking all the target share. Now you will argue the fact that Julio Jones has been, you don't want to say injury prone, but he's been definitely dealing with a lot of injuries over the last few seasons, so he hasn't been a full-time issue for Calvin Ridley, standing in Calvin Ridley's way. And that's the one thing that kind of gives you hope about Calvin Ridley, is that this isn't the first time that he's going to be playing without Julio Jones in the way. At least 40% of the time that he's been on the field has been without Julio Jones as it stands anyway. But I think that Julio Jones being gone is going to lower the ceiling for Calvin Ridley a little bit. You're going to lose a lot of that big play ability. So I think Calvin Ridley, he's going to be a wide receiver 1, but he's going to be a safe wide receiver 1, not somebody that's going to blow the lid off of your fantasy football points this week, next week, or any of the weeks. He's going to get you your points, he's going to go home, and he's going to do his damn thing. Now, number 8, right on the outside of this of these notable round 1 wide receivers, wide receiver number 1s, you're gonna be looking at Justin Jefferson, the young sensation out of Minnesota. You know, the man, the myth, the legend. I like his touchdown dance. It gets me excited. He makes me happy, and I like the way Justin Jefferson plays ball. Justin Jefferson has taken the Adam Thielen role from Adam Thielen. What Adam Thielen was when Stephon Diggs was in Minnesota is exactly what Justin Jefferson is now. And Adam Thielen was a damn good fantasy football wide receiver. He still is a damn good fantasy football wide receiver. But the fact of the matter is that Adam Thielen taking that number 1 coverage, the double coverage, a lot of that pressure away from Justin Jefferson, it allows him that room to work. It allows him that ability to be that speedy route running target that he is, and he's a big playability too. He's very similar to Tyreek. When he gets that ball in his hands, what he can do after the catch is spectacular. So Justin Jefferson is definitely a target that I would want to go get on my fantasy football team, most definitely. Now, when we move out of those wide receiver 1s, we're going to be only really just focusing, because I have 30 wide receivers ranked here. We're not going to go through all of them. I want to save you guys some time because I got a lot more episodes coming out. So we're just going to focus on some of the notable wide receivers outside of the top 10. And I've got 4 big ones for you. Number 11, right outside of my top 10 wide receivers, is going to be Allen Robinson from the Chicago Bears. I mean, they had a little bit of a relationship issue, some arguments over the offseason. They had some quabbles, and they had to go to therapy, and they had to do some stuff. But I think that the direction that the Chicago Bears are moving in right now, plus Allen Robinson's age and his talent ability. Allen Robinson's a great wide receiver. At the current moment, with Andy Dalton throwing him the football, Allen Robinson is going to be limited at the beginning of the year. But I have no doubt in my mind, at some point by week 6, Justin Fields will be the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears, and I think that's going to work wonders for Allen Robinson. You look at the other targets that they have in Chicago, Allen Robinson is really the only big name that stands out outside of the running back David Montgomery. So you can see how easily and quickly he's going to become that favorite target for a young quarterback like Justin Fields, or even a struggling veteran quarterback like Andy Dalton, Nick Foles, whoever they decide to put in there. But I think, like I said, without a doubt, by week 6, Justin Fields will be the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears. And I think Allen Robinson has a great chance of being a top 10 wide receiver, if not even better than that. Now, number 22 is going to be Courtland Sutton from the Denver Broncos, the number 1 wide receiver in Denver. I mean, he's next to Jerry Jeudy. He's got an insane amount of speed, but Courtland Sutton is a good-ass wide receiver. He's got great route running skills, great hands. He's got good size, and they finally have decided on a quarterback in the battle between Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. And honestly, either one that they go with kind of, I believe, gives Courtland Sutton the same chance. I don't think either one of them really hurts Courtland Sutton, but I think Courtland from Denver is going to be an absolute game breaker, especially at the price that you're going to be getting him at. As you see, I got him ranked as my 22nd wide receiver. That's not 22nd overall pick. That's 22nd wide receiver. Courtland Sutton is a 5th, 6th round wide receiver that you can grab that could easily slide into that wide receiver 2 slot and make you some money and make you happy. Now, you're looking at number 26, I got ranked there, Kenny Golladay from the New York Giants. I think Kenny Golladay is going to be, outside of Saquon Barkley, is going to be the biggest name in New York this season. I think Kenny Golladay is going to be the safest bet for Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is not a great quarterback. He's no slouch, though. Daniel Jones is decent. He's got enough skills that with Saquon Barkley and a healthy Kenny Golladay, they might be able to win 9 games and win the NFC East, because it's not going to take much to win that NFC East. The Dallas Cowboys hopefully can put up a little bit of a fight, but we know that sometimes it's an accident waiting to happen down there in Dallas. But you guys know how I feel about Dallas this year. I'm actually really hopeful Dallas wins hands down this year. I think I'm kind of expectant of that. But anyway, I think Kenny Golladay from New York is going to be a big player in the New York Giants scheme this season. And he's going to make your fantasy football team happy as hell. He's a great wide receiver 2 option, and worst case scenario, a great flex option to slide in there. Now, my number 30 pick, this one's going to be kind of the biggest name on this board here. El Bapo, Antonio Brown himself, the man that was one time the number 3 overall draft pick in drafts, the number 1 wide receiver hands down in the league. Yeah, he dealt with some legal issues. Yeah, he dealt with some personal issues. But when Antonio Brown came to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers extremely late into the season last year, he had more targets than Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. He had more touchdowns than Chris Godwin. He had more yards than Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. He was a big portion of that Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. Now, you look at the price that you got to get Mike Evans at. I got Mike Evans up in my top 10 wide receivers. You look at the price that you're getting Chris Godwin at. I got Chris Godwin at 18. But you look at Antonio Brown down there at 30. Antonio Brown, I saw in 2 different leagues in the same day, the same person get Antonio Brown in the 10th round. I mean, the value that you're getting Antonio Brown, the price that you're getting Antonio Brown, and the value that you're getting from a 9th, 10th, 11th round wide receiver who's easily going to be a flex and with production can be a wide receiver 2 hands down by the end of the season. Don't be sleeping on Antonio Brown, ladies and gentlemen. Antonio Brown could be the reason you're looking at that person in your league and saying, how the hell did you win with that team this year? Because they had players like Antonio Brown on it that you weren't paying attention to. And they shocked the shit out of you and took the money right out of your hands. But hey, that's why you're here with me at the Fantasy Football Huddle, here with the Huddle Chat Sports Shows. We're gonna give you all that knowledge. We're gonna let you draft all those other scrubs. Let those idiots in your draft all those other scrubs, and we're gonna give you those nice gems, those keys to win your league, so that way we can all drive home with that money, get the trophy, make it rain at the end of the year, whatever it is, the bragging rights, put a dress on somebody, whatever it is. That's what we're getting here together here at the Huddle Chat Sports Show, Fantasy Football Huddle. But I can't thank you guys enough for stopping by today here, checking out my wide receiver special on the Fantasy Football Huddle. Like I said, if you haven't seen it yet, check out the running back special. That's already out there. Check out the top 24 overall picks. That's already out there. Check out the 6 rules you need to follow. Check out how to dominate your draft. I mean, there's a lot of content out there that'll help you with your draft. And over the next couple of days, we're going to transition out of draft season and into week 1, starting to go with those early waiver wire gems, those early trade season targets, and we're answering some of your questions on who you should start, your stardom and sit-ems for week 1. So make sure you guys are staying tuned. If you like the content, make sure you smash that like button and go ahead and hit that notifications bell, because that's going to be the most important portion. After you subscribe, you get that option to hit that notifications bell, because like I said, we're getting away from those live scheduled episodes. But I'm coming out with content daily, sometimes twice daily, sometimes thrice daily. So make sure you guys are paying attention and you're getting all of that content coming to you. Get that notifications bell and you will be alerted as soon as that episode drops and as soon as that content comes out, so that way you can get the upper hand on your fantasy football league and dominate them suckers. But anyway, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, guys and gals, it's been a pleasure today. It's your boy Dallas Clark, also known as Indo as my Indo. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at The Huddle Chat and check us out on Facebook at The Huddle Chat Sports. Thank you guys so much for checking me out today. It's your boy Indo is my Dindo, and I am all the way the fuck up out of here. See y'all later, man.